I can't even call this the slop season no more. This is by far the craziest offseason ever. Shams, I'm sorry, you were just 1 year off.
The Celtics have traded all NBA star 2024 Finals MVP Jaylen Brown to the Philadelphia 76ers for Paul George.
I hate my life. I fucking hate my life.
Let's just say people did not like this trade.
This might be, and I'm not even joking. This might be the dumbest ever seen in my entire life.
Hey, bro. Nah, not this, right? Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
This is one of those trades that I think everybody agrees they were not expecting whatsoever. And I mean, how could you expect Jaylen Brown to be traded for Paul fucking George of all people? Look, when I try to make videos nowadays, I'm more cognizant of the biases that tend to take over when it comes to commentating on these moves. The common reaction I see online is, this trade is ridiculous. Why would Boston do this? And this is not me saying that it's the wrong reaction to have, right? It's a consensus reaction. There's a lot of truth to it. Like, this is a shocking trade. I didn't expect it. I don't think anybody did. Some people might have talked about the scenario being plausible, but for it to actually happen and for the return to be this little for Jaylen Brown? Are we serious? The details of the picks that the Celtics got from the Sixers don't seem all that promising, except for the unprotected first from 2031, right? But you got 2 seconds, right, that are, swaps with 2 different teams, actually 3 different teams. Golly, this is so insane, bro. I can't lie. Like, it's hard to wrap your head around this trade even making sense for Boston. It feels like the Sixers just ran away with the big prize here, and the Celtics let it happen.
The league is gobsmacked at how this trade went down. I think the one thing that was becoming apparent was that Jaylen Brown's value was much lower than the Celtics thought.
And that's one thing I want to talk about. The value that Jaylen Brown even had in the market was much lower than even the Celtics thought. Apparently, according to Shams, the original offer the Celtics had for the Sixers, for Jaylen Brown, was 5 first-round picks, plus add in VJ Edgecombe in addition to having Paul George be in the deal. The Celtics weren't even able to get more than 2 first-round picks. Not just that, but VJ wasn't even included. So they only had Paul George's salary to add in the trade.
I got a lot of texts of how did the Sixers get Jaylen Brown for this?
Maybe there wasn't a big market.
There is no denying that, the way the league views Jaylen Brown, especially with the things he says on stream nowadays, and, with, how vocal he likes to be in general, seems like it rubs people the wrong way, even people in the Boston Celtics organization.
Jaylen Brown, I had 2 NBA sources tonight, 2 people in the league, one an executive, one a scout, say that Jaylen Brown it's a disease. He suddenly thinks he's the smartest guy in every room he's in. One executive told me this was always a little bit of Jaylen Brown's personality, kind of the smartest guy in the room, and live streaming and throwing it out there, and that's just not a good space.
I hate when the media does this thing where they quote anonymous sources, and it's like they quote some of the most vile, most outlandish takes. I'm not like, this one's racist as hell, bro. What do you mean it's a disease? Intelligence, a disease? Bro, you would never say this about a white person, bro. Like, let's be honest. And that's why recently when Bobby Marks said what he said about, Jaylen Brown and what, people around the league thinks of him, bro, we all rolled our eyes because, bro, ain't no way somebody told you that shit, bro.
There's a spirited debate going on in front offices right now regarding Jaylen Brown. There's, on one side, there is the analytics debate, and the analytics do not view Brown as a high-level player, a negative net rating over the last 4 years in Boston.
I had one, not an executive, but an analytics guy saying, well, yeah, we view him as like the 7th best player on a team. I was like, holy crap.
Oh my God.
What do we?
I think what's more interesting to talk about is not really the trade itself, is the contrasting point of views that people have about Jaylen Brown, whether it's, from people that, view the game more so through the analytics that are, quite frankly, not accessible to a lot of people.
The Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum era is over. This is maybe one of the few times that I feel like I don't like it. It don't feel right.
And how even a lot of former NBA players, a lot of older fans, and even more casual fans view the game. There's a very, very big gap between how they both view Jaylen Brown. And it's very interesting to examine that.
I just know that the Celtics felt that even though Jaylen Brown was talking about himself for MVP, or there was this MVP campaign for Jaylen Brown, the Celtics did not feel that Jaylen had the best season on their team. And I don't mean Jason Tatum. I'm talking about they felt that Derek White had a better season.
Despite the fact he had a poor shooting season.
I agree.
But they felt he impacted winning the most.
And the statistics that people used to analyze.
Yeah, on, off, and whatnot.
Said that.
Yeah.
I hear this and it sounds preposterous at first glance. I mean, Derek White didn't put up more points, rebounds, assists. Derek White in the playoffs underperformed. Jaylen Brown had a better postseason than Derek White. Why the hell are we even saying this to be the point of the Celtics rationale here? And then people use the argument of on-off to try to make the point that, oh yeah, Jaylen, when White is on the floor, they're way better with him on the floor. When Brown's on the floor alone, they're not even that good. And it's like, I guess you can look at it from an individual standpoint. You could try to extrapolate the on-offs and try to make a case that Derek White's a better player. But to me, that doesn't feel genuine. This is a disingenuous thing to do, right? Try to extrapolate on-offs and try to remove any context that could explain this away. Another argument that I see people make is that, well, Derek White, when Jaylen Brown's off the floor, he can scale up offensively to where a lot of the scoring load that Jaylen Brown carries within the team can easily be allocated to guys like him and Pritchard and, guys off the bench, and you don't have to give up defense, because essentially that's the big issue with Jaylen Brown's on-off numbers, is that you could clearly tell the defense is where, things get worse when he's on the floor. Whereas, where Derek White is on the floor, off the floor, the defense doesn't get worse. It actually gets better. But it's not like the defense gets better when Pritchard's on the floor, right? So essentially, you're basically banking on Pritchard to have an insane scoring leap that will make up for the defense getting worse when he's on the floor. And I think, that's probably what the Celtics are banking on more so than, oh, Derek White is the best player on the team. I don't actually think the Celtics think that.
We got Jaylen Brown in the tunnel now. Jaylen Brown is at the show. Hey! Hey!
We got Jaylen Brown and he got traded. First round exit. Oh, he lost to the team that he got traded to. Jaylen Brown is cooked. Hey, yay! The Celtics probably looked at it as, addition by subtraction. But also, the noise was just becoming too loud, man. And they were looking at that contract that he was owed the next 3 years and probably thought, you know what, bro? We whiffed on the Giannis situation and we decided not to go for it. The offers we're getting aren't that good. Might as well just salary dump the dude. I mean, at this point, that's probably the rationale they had. And as crazy as it sounds to salary dump a guy that was an All-NBA second team, that was top 6 in MVP voting, I mean, it sounds preposterous, right? I'm not even trying to say that you're wrong to feel that way. I'm just saying, if I'm playing devil's advocate, I'm trying to understand what the Celtics are looking at. I think the Celtics are making a move that in the short term they know is going to result in the Celtics being a worse team, right? The floor might be lower now because Jaylen Brown's scoring load is not there to basically keep your flow up, right? The ceiling is lower too, probably too, because in the playoffs now, Jaylen Brown was a guy that actually provided so much, scoring in the crunch times, right? They won a championship in 24, and a lot of it had to do with Jaylen Brown and how he was able to score in the clutch. They don't have that guy like that now. They're banking on Peyton Pritchard and Derek White to replicate a lot of that. They're banking on Jason Tatum being able to play close to how he did pre-Achilles. But I think from the Celtics' point of view, it's a long-term play. They're seeing Paul George's salary, and it's pretty close to Jaylen Brown, right? The contract, one less year left on his contract than Jaylen Brown. He also has a player option that the Celtics, might try to convince Paul George, we're going to give you more money. We're going to extend you. But instead of paying you $56 million in your last year. Let's pay you, somewhere close to 35, 40 mil for the next 2 years, right? So that you can get more money long term, right? The Celtics might make a play to try to reduce the load in the following season. Jaylen Brown's contract is fixed for the next 3 years, and the Celtics have very little wiggle room when it comes to negotiating with Jaylen Brown because, well, what are you going to say to him? He's a Finals MVP. Paul George, the guy, he's more malleable. He's a guy that fits better with a scheme that Mazzulla likes to run on both ends. Jaylen Brown's a guy that he's demanding the ball way more, and he's a guy that, quite frankly, is starting to make a lot more noise about how great of a season he had and how this was his favorite season. I understand what the Celtics are doing. Now, do I agree that this is a good trade? No. I still don't think that this is a good trade for the Celtics. They could have definitely gone for better. They could have heard more offers. They didn't have to take this offer. They could have waited out, or they could have taken their earlier offers that were better. I think the Celtics, they realized they were in a situation where Jaylen Brown's name was being mentioned way too many times for the relationship to be salvageable. And at this point, they said, fuck it, bro. Yo, we're just going to take our losses. I think that's what the Celtics ultimately thought, bro. We're going to take our losses and hope that we can pivot out of this and be in a better spot. I think the Celtics are the big losers of this trade, and I think even the Celtics will tell you that. In the short term, they are the losers. All right, bro, that's it. This offseason has been slopping really good, man. I mean, oh, man, we're feasting. This is amazing. All right, peace out.